Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Oh, Amara. Hare Hare. God. Nice. Haribo. What's your name?
Something you can start. I'll find that. Vishnupadaya Krishna Pesale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namaste Saraswati Deve Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Prabhu Nityananda Can I play Miranda? Prabhu Shri Advaita Gadadhar Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Shri Rasa Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Evil. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Rama Rama Ramo Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gauranga Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Mother Divine Grace ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। नित्य लीला प्रविष्ट ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस श्रील भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। श्री वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की जय। श्री मायापुर नवद्वीप धाम की जय। पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। स्कॉट शिकागो न्यू सेवकुंज धाम की जय। महारानी की श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की नीताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Someone's on the schedule. I don't know who it is. Who's on the schedule? Go ahead. I can override the schedule. Go ahead. Okay. So the privilege is invested in you. I'll override the schedule. Just let each line once.
One time. Okay, sure. Hare Krishna. Namaste. Shilatankana Kalaye Eto Nisingo Parato Nisingo Yato Yato Yamitato Nisingo Bahe Nisingo Hidai Nisingo Narsingamadim Sharanam Prapadi Narsingamadim Sharanam Prapadi Savakara Kamala Parinakam Adhuta Shingam Sarita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringam Kesavadita Narayura Jaya Jagadish Hari Jaya Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare
Sabadita Nayariva Jaya Gari Sahari Jaya Gari Sahare Jaya Gari Sahare Haribo Haribo Jayane Singare, Nisingare, Nisingare, Rayane Singare. Jaya Prahlad Nrsinga, Prahlad Nrsinga, Prahlad Nrsinga, Jaya Prahlad Nrsinga. Little faster. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Nitya Go Haribo, 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 Nitya Go Haribo. Shri Bhagavan ki jai, Anant Gauri Vaishnavin ki jai, Nitya Gopani Hari Hari Bo.
So please repeat after me. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. Before I make other announcements, I've been told that there is a silver Honda Civic that is blocking other cars. The last four digits of that car are 1975. 1975. Does this car belong to anyone here? Silver Honda Civic with last four digits 1975. If not, we would be happy to accept a donation of a Honda Civic. Is anyone here with that? Please, if no one? Well, thank you. Today's presentation will be by His Holiness Romapada Swami on this very beautiful topic called Brahma Samhita, Sri Brahma Samhita. And I'm sure Maharaj is going to tell us the significance of it all. But it's a beautiful explanation or a topic similar to that we find in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And I want to share with you that during Thanksgiving weekend, I happened to be in Seattle to take care of something else, but I was also part of a seminar that Maharaj gave. He did 13 sessions. Each session was about 2.5, some sessions were almost 3 hours straight. 13 sessions explaining Sri Brahma Samhita. And it's a small, a fairly thin booklet, but it is packed. And today Maharaj will be doing, I think, a summary of it within the next hour. So we're very grateful and happy that Maharaj is doing this. It's a very, very nice book, wonderful topics about Lord Shri Krishna as he is glorified by the primary or the first teacher in our disciplic succession, Lord Brahma himself. So while we get ready for that, anyone here for the very first time? Okay, please come up. We have a small gift for you as a token of our appreciation to thank you for coming and visiting Kishori's temple. And try not to clap. Please don't clap. Yeah, please come. Thank you very much for coming. Okay. So for next Sunday, our speaker will be His Grace Uttama Shloka Prabhu, who's a senior disciple of His Holiness Indradumna Swami. He travels with him, and one of the things that he does is speak about certain, what we say, relevant topics from the Bhagavad Gita. So that's what he will be doing next Sunday as part of Krishna Fest. Saturday, that is December 20th, from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., there will be a short seminar, if you will, on how to develop our self-esteem. This is a topic from the Bhagavad Gita that he's going to speak here at Kishore Kishori Temple next Saturday, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. And then he will do the Sunday lecture as well. So the information about all of this will be on our website, Facebook. We'll send you out emails, etc. But I'm informing you so you can schedule it in your calendar. Okay. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Oh yes. Please turn off your cell phones.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Girivardhari Jasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Jamuna Tiravanachari Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Abha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Girivardhari Jasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Vishnupatar Mahamsa Harivedavacharya Astatara Satasi Srimad His Divine Grace Nisi Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Shri Shri Kishore Kishori Ki Sambeda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Nitai Gaur Premanandi. So I noticed just a little bit before there's some people that are here for the first time, and the subject that I'm going to introduce is, on the one hand, not a first-time visitor subject. On the other hand, it is a first-time visitor subject. I'll explain. This is this little skinny book, Sri Brahma Samhita, just 62 verses. 130 pages long, piece of cake. At the same time, it's a very heavy book because the subject matter is the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is, when it sits on your shelf, it's this big. So to take the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam and put it in one book, it's got to be heavy. And the commentary is not Srila Prabhupada's very approachable, understandable smoothie. It's the language of Bhakti Siddhanta. So I want to share with you first. Could I request you're leaning on the Vyasa-san, don't lean on the Vyasa-san? Don't lean on the Vyasa-san, please. It's not an armrest. It's worshipable. Thank you. Sorry. I was first introduced to Krishna consciousness by a fellow student at my university. I didn't know anything about Krishna consciousness, but somehow this devotee, later he became Burijan, we went to school together, he gave me a Back to Godhead magazine. And then the Back to Godhead magazines were, with a mimeograph machine that you cranked by hand, and it spewed out, papers and pages, and they took the pages and collated them and stapled them together, and that was Back to Godhead magazine. So he gave me a Back to Godhead magazine. I didn't know what it was. I put it on my clipboard. On top of that was a pile of books, and I carried it around for a while. And after some time, somebody saw the Back to Godhead magazine and said, "Are you into that?" I said, "What's that?" He said, "Oh, you don't want to be into that." And so that perked my curiosity to find what was inside of it. I'm a little rebellious. And so I started looking through the Back to Godhead magazine, and the feature article was an article by Bhakti Siddhanta, who wrote the commentary for this Sri Brahma Samhita. And the title of the article was The Bhagavat, Its Ontology and Morphology. I got out my dictionary and looked up those three words I'd never heard of before. And it didn't even have Bhagavat in the dictionary. So I became more curious, and I started reading the article. And because I was in pre-med, I was used to technical articles that, you have to kind of wade your way through with a dictionary and try to understand what the articles about. So I wasn't intimidated by something that was like over my head, nor was I particularly impressed because it was over my head. I just wanted to understand what was in it. And 3 hours later, because time just flew, I didn't even notice the time was flying. And I finished the article, with my notes and outlinings and underlinings and definitions of words. Every fourth, fifth word, I had to look it up. Because that's the kind of language that he often would use. In that article he did. And as I sat back, I felt that my consciousness just had been lifted to another place that I had never experienced before. It wasn't a place. What's wrong? No, I'm just, the place. That was the place. I was in this place that was a place of spiritual consciousness. I become spiritually energized without even knowing it. Just association with Bhaktisiddhanta transported me. Not because it was technical, but because it was Bhaktisiddhanta. And, my medical studies didn't take me to that place, but Bhaktisiddhanta did. So before I even knew what Krishna consciousness was, I had this very special appreciation. That's how I got started. And then I started reading Prabhupada's books, and some other things happened, and I decided I wanted to, even before that. So Krishna made an arrangement where I had association with devotees, some of whom were, practicing. They were chanting 16 rounds. In the house where I was living, there were people that didn't advertise themselves. They weren't recruiting. They were just practicing Krishna consciousness, offering their food to Krishna and chanting 16 rounds, following the principles. I didn't even know what that was. So one of the things that they had was a recording of Srila Prabhupada chanting the Brahma Samhita prayers. So this is 1970. So it's 69, 70. No, you can turn off on the right-hand side. There's on the right-hand side, on the side. Yeah. There's a little button. You move it one direction and it'll stop. Did I do it? Did you do it? Modem. Just killed the modem. So, close your eyes for a moment and imagine you're a world acharya. And you were sent by your spiritual master to a foreign land to give people that don't know anything about Krishna, and you want to give them Krishna. So what would you do? Well, one of the things that Prabhupada did was, once he had a little foothold in Manhattan, 26 Second Avenue, little storefront in Lower East Side, he had the devotees arrange for a recording studio where he could go and sing the Brahma Samhita songs, the prayers. And then he made an LP. We don't do those anymore. It's now digital, but it was a recording. And I used to hear it every day. In fact, when I moved into an ashram, I heard it many times. I probably heard that album 500 times. That's kind of like an introduction to who is Krishna. Although I didn't know the meaning, Srila Prabhupada gave the meaning towards the end, and I'll play his recording of what he says after singing. So that was like, wow, Brahma Samhita. And then about 2 years ago, I came across this quote. It's a letter from Srila Prabhupada to, as you see, to Pradumna. Now, Pradumna was a Sanskrit scholar, and as a Sanskrit scholar, he liked books. So he was in India, and he found a book by Bhaktisiddhanta called Sri Brahma Samhita. So he wrote a letter to Prabhupada saying, is it okay to read it? That was good. He asked his spiritual master before doing. And then Prabhupada wrote this letter. Brahma Samhita contains the highest of all spiritual knowledge. It's the gist of Srimad Bhagavatam, where everything about Krishna is perfectly described. One who reads Brahma Samhita very carefully and scrutinizingly can understand everything of Krishna without any fault. I recommend, therefore, that all my students read Brahma Samhita very carefully, especially because it was translated personally by my spiritual master, Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj. Now, before I read this a couple of years ago, long ago, I had tried, with my dictionary by my side, reading Brahma Samhita. In fact, I read it so many times that the binding broke. And so some nice devotee made a hardcover copy so I could still have my book with its notes in it, but it wouldn't fall apart. So in other words, I had already attempted, but it kind of like sputtered. But then when I read this, I said, okay, that's it. I'm going to take the plunge. I'm going to make a very sincere, concerted effort to do exactly what Prabhupada said to do. Very carefully, scrutinizingly, try to understand Krishna as presented in Sri Brahma Samhita. And then there's a little audio clip. This is now Prabhupada's words. At the end of this recording, where he sang the Brahma Samhita songs, the prayers, that I had heard so many hundreds of times, at the end, here's what Prabhupada says.
The audience, the hearers of this record are requested to study and try to enter into the spirit of this hymn with great care and attention as a regular daily function.
Nice. So it's an instruction, and I've heard that instruction hundreds of times. And so I took up my study of Brahma Samhita in that mood, not just like figure it out kind of study, but as he said, enter into the spirit of the hymn with great care and attention as a regular daily function. I'll play it again, it's a nice...
The audience, the hearers of this record are requested to study and try to enter into the spirit of this hymn with great care and attention as a regular daily function.
So, I'm going to take you on a little excursion of preparing yourself for that. And we'll start with something that's written in Chaitanya Charitamrita, this little skinny book, minus the commentary, was found by Lord Chaitanya when he was traveling in South India. This chapter 9 of Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila is Lord Chaitanya's South Indian travels, and one of the places he visited was a temple called Adi Keshava Temple. Very beautiful temple and a very simple, not cosmopolitan, not commercial place. Very nice. So he went there, and when he was there, and associating with the learned sadhus who were residing at the temple, he heard and received from them a copy of Brahma Samhita. He had it copied, and he took that copy with him through the rest of his travels. He's a sannyasi, he didn't have a suitcase. He had a danda in one hand and a water pot, kamandalu, in the other hand. somewhere he kept his Brahma Samhita, maybe in a shoulder bag or something. And when he reached back in the place where he had met Ramananda Roy, he gave a copy to Ramananda Roy, that and Krishna Karnamrita, saying, all the teachings that we discussed so many months ago, all of it is confirmed in this book. And then he went to Puri. And when he was in Puri, he gave copies to the learned devotees in Puri. And before you knew it, the followers of Lord Chaitanya in Vrindavan and all over the place, they understood this Sri Brahma Samhita is very special. And so one of the, over on the right-hand side, the altar, down below, there's a painting of the 6 Goswamis. One of those 6, named Jiva Goswami, he took this book and made a commentary in Sanskrit. It was that important. And then some decades later, a rendering of Jiva Goswami's Sanskrit commentary was made by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, pursuing Jiva Goswami's Sanskrit commentary. And then his son, Bhaktisiddhanta, following Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who was following Jiva Goswami, who was following Rupa Goswami, who was following Lord Chaitanya, made a commentary in English. And he had it published. So when Srila Prabhupada's disciples wanted to publish it, the BBT wanted to publish it, Prabhupada said, yes, you can publish it, but don't edit it. Although the language is very high, he was very particular about the choice of words, and if you try to make it more accessible by editing, you may lose something, so don't edit it. In fact, Bhaktisiddhanta's writing was so high, the Back to Godhead magazine editors asked Prabhupada, is it okay to print Bhaktisiddhanta's writings in Back to Godhead? And he said, yes, but only a page or 2. Because their brains will be puzzled. And then Prabhupada said, even he was speaking in Bengali, which was my native tongue, and my brain was puzzled. So if you read Brahma Samhita and your brain is puzzled, you're in good company. But there's something about his writing I can attest to. Your consciousness will be spiritually lifted. Not because his language is high, but because his consciousness is high and he's giving his association. I guarantee. If you're following what Prabhupada said, scrutinizingly studying and trying to enter into the spirit of the message that he's delivering. So this is a verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita describing this book, which says, there's no scripture equal to Brahma Samhita as far as the final spiritual conclusion is concerned. Indeed, that scripture, this little skinny thing, is the supreme revelation of the glories of Lord Govinda. For it reveals the topmost knowledge about him, since all conclusions are briefly presented in the Brahma Samhita, it is essential among all the Vaishnava scriptures. So we have a couple cases at the end of this class. You can take a copy home with you. And if you have a copy, don't leave it on your shelf. Open it up, take your dictionary, and go through it. And just as Nityananda Pran mentioned, 30 plus hours of my trying to explain these prayers is available online. I'm sure we can make that available so that you can enter into the mystery of Govinda, because that's who Sri Brahma Samhita is about. Govinda. Govinda means Krishna in Vrindavan. So first, a little appreciation of these prayers. Maybe some of you, all of you from India recognize this painting. This is an elephant whose name is Gajendra in the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. it describes there was a king whose name was Indradumna. And Indradumna Maharaj became very, very elevated in his life, and he turned over at the end when his son was of age to take over the kingdom. He gave the kingdom to his son. He went to the mountainside, lived in solitude to just focus his consciousness on the personality of Godhead and perfect his life spiritually. Something unusual happened. Agastya Muni came to that place along with his many associates. And the king was absorbed in meditation, like absorbed, and he was in trance. And the sage entered his little cottage, and the king didn't respond because he was in meditation. He didn't even notice that Agastya Muni was there. So Agastya Muni got in a huff and said, what kind of king are you? You don't even know etiquette of how to receive a guest. This is the behavior of an animal. You should become an elephant. And he left, angry. So King Indradumna became an elephant in his next life. But he wasn't just an ordinary elephant, he was a king of elephants. So he was called Gaja Indra, king of elephants, Gajendra. And as you see behind, there's a whole bunch of other elephants, and one time they went to bathe in a lake, and as they were bathing in the lake, the other elephants were leaving, but this crocodile didn't like somebody was disturbing his lake, and so he went and attacked Gajendra. Gajendra's shaking to get this crocodile free from his leg, and big fight, long time, very long time. And as the fight went on and on and on and on and on, Gajendra was getting weaker and weaker and weaker because he was out of his normal elements. Normal element is on the ground, not in a lake. But the crocodile was tenacious, holding on. So at a certain point, Gajendra realized, it's it. I'm not going to survive. I'm gone. So in that consciousness of desperation, he then supersoul within his heart, because supersoul is within the heart of that tree over there, and little bugs flying around, and elephants and dogs and every living entity, everything that's alive. There's an individual soul and a supreme soul. So supersoul within Gajendra's heart reminded him of the prayers that he recited when he was the king. And he started reciting those prayers with a lot of sincerity, like as if his life depended on it, because he did. And with that sincerity, calling out to the Supreme Lord, as you see from the painting, Lord Vishnu appeared, standing on the back of Garuda. And when Gajendra saw the Supreme Lord came, he was in ecstatic devotion. Even he had this terrible pain on his leg. With his trunk, he picked a lotus flower from the lake and offered it to Lord Vishnu. Very beautiful. And there's another old painting. There's Garuda. There's Lord Vishnu. There's that crocodile. And there's Gajendra and some of the other elephants I'm looking. And then Lord Vishnu released his Sudarshan chakra, you can see here. And the Sudarshan chakra separated the chomping part of the alligator from the rest of his body. And when that happened, the alligator died, and from the body of the alligator came this Gandharva, who he had also been cursed because of some offense he made to become a crocodile. So he was relieved from that curse of becoming a crocodile. And Gajendra became liberated. Now, it doesn't give the details of his going back to Godhead, but as we see, he received this spiritual form, and in that spiritual form, he went back to Godhead. So here's Prabhupada's comments, Canto 8, chapter 3, text 1. Here's the verse. Thereafter, the king of elephants, Gajendra, even while in the grips of the crocodile's jaw, fixed his mind in his heart with perfect intelligence and chanted a mantra which he had learned in his previous birth as Indrajumna, and which he remembered by the grace of Krishna. And Prabhupada's purport. Gajendra was formerly King Indrajumna, and somehow or other in his next life he became king of the elephants. When Gajendra was in danger, and although he was in the body other than that of a human being, he remembered the stotra, means prayer, he had chanted in his previous life. And then he writes, Yatate cha tato bhuya samsatau kurunandana. To enable one to achieve perfection, Krishna gives one the chance to remember him again. That's from the purport. And then he goes on. So here's the instruction part. It is imperative, therefore, that all devotees in Krishna consciousness, that's most of us here, practice chanting some mantra. Certainly one should chant the Hare Krishna mantra, which is the Maha Mantra, great mantra. And also one should practice chanting Chintamani Prakata Sadmatsu. That's the first line of these prayers. Or the Nrsimha Stotra. Ito Nrsimha Parato Nrsimho Yato Yato Yamin Tato Nrsimha. Of course, I made these colors. Every devotee, that's us, should practice in order to chant some mantra perfectly, so that even though he may be imperfect in spiritual consciousness in this life, in his next life he will not forget Krishna consciousness, even if he becomes an animal. So we shouldn't just try to, it's okay, become an animal. Of course, the devotee should try to perfect his Krishna consciousness in this life, or simply by understanding Krishna and his instructions. After giving up this body, one can return home back to Godhead. So there's an explicit instruction that, again, as he made this recording in late 1970s, late 1960s, here it is again in his 8th canto purport. And here's why. So with that encouragement, let us begin. We're going to cover 2 verses. This is the invocation verse, or text number 1. Let us chant it together. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchit Ananda Vigraha Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. So here's the translation. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the Supreme Godhead. He has an eternal, blissful, spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. So in his commentary, Jiva Goswami in Sanskrit explains that this is the Paribhasha Sutra of the entire Brahma Samhita. Now in Chaitanya Charitamrita it describes, this is chapter 5 of a 100-chapter book. The other 99 chapters are lost. But this one chapter, he says, is the essence of the whole book, and this one verse is the essence of the essence, or Paribhasha Sutra. Those of you from India, you know what sutra means. It's a little tight phrase, a code. It's just information and understanding and knowledge pressed into a little compact space. That's a sutra. Paribhasha, here's the meaning. Pari means around, and bhasha means language or speech. So you put the two together. It's to speak fully, or to explain, or define in a sutra form. So Jiva Goswami says, a Paribhasha Sutra of a book has the following qualities or characteristics or traits. One is it's generally found at the beginning of a text. It is like an emperor that rules many kings. So similarly within a book, there may be many statements and truths seemingly unrelated, and they're all ruled by this one. So something that's in Srimad Bhagavatam, for example, there's 18,000 verses. There's a Paribhasha Sutra for Srimad Bhagavatam. So all the other verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, although it may seem that those messages are unrelated, they must follow this one. And you can't, it's a wrong understanding if you have a different meaning that's what's in this one, the governing one. So, for example, in Jiva Goswami's Bhagavatam commentary, the Sandarbhas, he says this verse is the Paribhasha Sutra of Srimad Bhagavatam, which says, Krishna's to Bhagavan Swayam. Ete changsa kala pungsa Krishna's to Bhagavan Swayam, which means of all the different expansions of the Lord, Krishna is the original. And that verse governs all the other 17,999. Very powerful verse, very important verse. One must understand this verse correctly in order to understand the rest of Srimad Bhagavatam. Similarly, Rupa Goswami, when he composed Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which you can find in the library or in the bookstore as Nectar of Devotion, it's a summary study of that book. Rupa Goswami's practically foremost literature was this one. Here's the governing verse of the entire Nectar Devotion, because Nectar Devotion is about devotion or bhakti. So this is a definition of what bhakti is, and also what it isn't. The first two lines says it's not about karma and gyan. What it is about is the cultivation of those activities which are favorable to and pleasing to Krishna. And that's what bhakti is. So the whole of that wonderful book is pursuing this information or governed by. So again, this Ishvara Parama verse is that verse. So the first line, Ishvara, in Sanskrit means controller. And here's little graphics to show everybody's controlling something. The soccer player's trying to control the ball. And the little kids are doing their video games trying to control the virtual image on the screen. And race car drivers are trying to control, position number one in the race and so forth and so on. There's air traffic controllers. Everyone's controlling something, but those who are controlling something are controlled by someone, without exception, except for one. There's a Parama Ishvara. And that Parama Ishvara is Krishna. There he is at the top. He is the controller of all controllers. He's not controlled by anyone, but he's controlling everyone. Lord Brahma, pictured here on the left. He's the creator of the universe, but although he's the creator, he's empowered to create. He derives the power to create from Parama Ishvara, Krishna. And then once the universe is created, there are various demigods, and they control the affairs of the universe. They regulate the affairs of the universe. But they get the power to do that from Krishna, so they worship him. There's a nice Pushkar painting where they're worshiping him at the shore of the Milk Ocean. They're deriving their power from him, and they know it. Although they're very powerful. They're controllers controlled by the Supreme Controller. Here's Indra, who is in control of rain, and everything requires rain for growing. But Indra is controlled by Krishna. And Lord Brahma, he's portrayed here offering prayers to Krishna after making a mistake and challenging Krishna, testing Krishna. He came before Krishna to offer beautiful prayers. So that's the first line. Second line, his form, that's this word here, vigraha, means form. His form is all spiritual. Sat and Chit and Ananda mean, Sat means eternality, Chit means knowledge, and Ananda means bliss, transcendental happiness. In short, our bodies are not like that. They're not eternal, far from it. Do you know anybody that's eternal? According to what Krishna says, everyone that takes birth must die. No, Krishna doesn't, his body is eternal. It's not born. It's eternal, Sat. And his body is full of knowledge. Ours isn't. The soul is present, and because the presence of the soul consciousness permeates the body, but when the soul leaves the body, no consciousness. Kaput. It's over. And the body of Krishna is all knowledge. We don't have experience of that. Therefore, Brahma Samhita is going to teach us about his form that's full of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. Little graphics to show that. So, third line, Anadir, Adir, Govinda. It's kind of obvious, but this word Adir appears twice, Adir and Anadir. This prefix means not. He's the original, but he has no origin before him. He doesn't come from anything, and everything comes from him. And who's that? Govinda. In Jiva Goswami's commentary, there's a few pages where he gets into it. Why Govinda? Why not, as he said earlier, Krishna? And the answer is, when we say Krishna, it can mean Krishna in Dwaraka or Krishna in Mathura or Krishna, here and there. Govinda, however, everyone knows. It's Vrindavan. Krishna in Vrindavan is Govinda. Why? Because Govinda takes care of cows. So Govinda and Gopal in Goloka. So that's the original. And that's a very important message of the whole Brahma Samhita. If I had an extra while, I would describe Krishna's abode where there's many, many, many cows. This is Nanda Maharaj, the father of Krishna, who had 900,000 cows. That was just his cows. And then everybody else had their cows. Lots of cows in Goloka. In fact, the word Goloka Loka means planet, and Go means cows. It's a planet of cows. And the cows love Krishna, and Krishna loves the cows. And everything else in Goloka loves Krishna, and Krishna loves everything in Goloka. It's the land of love. Not the worldly kind, but the transcendental kind. And so we hear in Sri Brahma Samhita about Goloka. Here's a painting of Vyasadeva down here, who's meditating upon Krishna, who is the cause of all causes. His expansion, Garbhodakshay Vishnu, generates Lord Brahma, and so forth. So he's the Sarva Karana, Karanam. Karana in Sanskrit means cause. He's the Karanam of all Karanas. He's the cause of all causes. He's the source of all incarnations. And that's the introductory verse. I think I'm going to go very quickly on these next verses. This is a little summary of some of the verses that come between that introductory verse and the first of the prayers. We're going to discuss the first of the prayers. But you see, this is a brass plate that has inscriptions in Sanskrit. It's like geometric pattern. like a mandala. You've heard that term maybe, a mandala. And the inscription inside, this is a depiction that's used some places in South India in worship, depicting the abode of Govinda. Just like in Mayapur, some of you have been to Mayapur or will go. This is a photo of the deity of Lord Nrsingadev, and down at his feet are two of those brass plates. The Sanskrit term is called yantra, and yantra literally means a machine, or Tamal Krishna Maharaj calls these, it's a mystical diagram. So there's the Shringa yantra, and here's the Govinda yantra. And here's an artist's rendering of that with the Sanskrit words. In case you don't read Sanskrit, here's in Roman letters, transliteration. And all of this is described, I'm not going to go into the detail, all of this is described in the initial verses. It's a map or a mystical diagram of the spiritual world, Krishna's abode. And inside, as you see the letters appearing, these are mantras that Lord Brahma used, both of them, for achieving self-realization. Maybe some of you have seen this poster. Some devotees made a poster of the different realms. Here over on the left-hand side is Goloka. So in the shape of a lotus, and the inside is the whirl of the lotus, and the center of the whirl of the lotus is Radha and Krishna. And then that's the abode of Radha and Krishna, or Goloka, and these petals described in Brahma Samhita, the petals are the abodes of the gopis. And there's lots of gopis, as you can see. And other associates of Krishna are in those regions also. And then there's this white region on the outside, depicted up here, Svetadweep. And I'm not going to go into the detail because those verses describe them. But those mantras, we'll just go back for a moment. Here, those mantras on the inside, Kleem means Radha and Krishna. And then these words on the inside, they're mantras that Lord Brahma received. This is verse 24, where it is said that the goddess of learning Saraswati, the divine consort of the Supreme Lord, she gave him this mantra that's depicted below. And at a time when there wasn't anything, there wasn't a universe. It was just darkness in all directions. There wasn't sun, nobody to talk to, no place to go, no cell phone to call somebody or send a text message or email or nothing. There wasn't anything, just darkness in all directions. Like, shut yourself in a closet and see how long you can stay there. Not too long. But Lord Brahma received this mantra, and he chanted this mantra for 1,000 celestial years. There's the mantra inscribed in the center. This is an artist's rendering of what the yantra that Lord Brahma meditated upon while chanting his mantra, and then he received a second mantra. Explained in the text, from the sound of Krishna's flute, that sound went into the ear of Lord Brahma, and it came out of his mouth in the form of another mantra, Kam Gayatri mantra. And then he chanted that mantra for a long time. So 2 mantras, all depicted in that diagram. Enlightened by the recollection of that Gayatri, embodying the 3 Vedas, Brahma became acquainted with the expanse of the ocean of truth. Then he worshipped Sri Krishna, the essence of all Vedas, with this hymn. So we're going to just cover the first of the hymns or the stotras offered by Lord Brahma to Govinda. Here's Bhaktisiddhanta's purport. Brahma thought within himself, quote, by the recollection of Kama Gayatri, it seems to me that I am the eternal maidservant of Krishna. He realized his spiritual form besides the body that he had, the form of the soul, and the soul's eternal relation with the Supreme Soul as the eternal maidservant. So he was in conjugal or madhurya rasa, the soul, although his body was doing some other things, creating a universe. Though the other mysteries in regard to the condition of the maidservant of Krishna were not revealed to him, he didn't know the details of, as a maidservant, what do I do? Like, and what's my name, and where do I live? And those details he didn't have, which became revealed in course of time. But in addition to his own understanding, he also understood the absolute truth, the source of everything, Govinda. And then he revealed the truths about Govinda in these wonderful prayers to Govinda, which, just as a reminder, Prabhupada said, he wanted that, this is in 1968, just getting started. And he's giving this instruction that everyone should hear these prayers with great care and attention as a regular daily function and enter into the spirit of this hymn. So let's try to enter into the spirit of the hymn. And you see in the right-hand corner, there's this little thing, looks like a horn. So there's someone singing. We can sing along with Mahatma Prabhu. Very pleasant sound, isn't it? I've been hearing this over and over again. I dream these songs, and the melody just stays. It's really nice. So, I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor, who is tending the cows, yielding all desire, in abodes built with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of purpose trees, always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds and thousands of Lakshmis or Gopis. So this is the first of these prayers by Lord Brahma, and specifically in his purport to 2 verses later, Bhaktisiddhanta writes, these first 3 verses are a little group, and rather than reading what it says, it's in the prayers, Brahma is describing in this verse the abode of Krishna. The next one is the form of Krishna or Govinda. And then the third is the pastimes. Again, his abode, and then his form, and then his pastimes. He's disclosing spiritual reality. Now, just a little sharing, anecdotal. When I was, once upon a time, I was little, as we all were. And I remember asking my parents, what's it like in heaven? Because we're told in the Bible we're supposed to want to go there. So what's it like when you go there? And I stopped asking the question because the way they responded was so humiliating. They said, oh, isn't that cute? little puppy dog and pat me on the head. And people would come to the home and they'd say, "Oh, go ahead and say it." Like roll over and bark or something like that. So I stopped asking. I asked the priest, and he, same kind of response. "Oh, isn't that nice?" But no answer. So I stopped asking. And then I came in contact with Prabhupada's books, and here is a verse that describes what it's like, in case you wanted to know. And if you don't ask, you never find out. But here, you don't even have to ask, and you'll find out. And it's especially meaning if you're asking. And that's not even heaven. This is Goloka, the abode of the original personality of Godhead. What's it like there? It's a travel brochure. You should want to go there. It's worth it. So, in Vrindavan, or Goloka Vrindavan, in Krishna's original abode, there are opulences that surpass, those of you from India, you'll relate to this statement, they surpass the opulences of Vaikuntha. Really? Because Vaikuntha is the place of opulence. And it's known for being the Aishvarya feature of the Supreme Lord. Oh, opulence is unlimited. And everybody there goes, wow. Awe and reverence towards this all opulent, all powerful, almighty, supreme Narayana. So there's a little section, just make reference to this, in Chaitanya Charitamrita again, where in Jagannath Puri, those of you from India, you know where Jagannath Puri is and what it's famous for. It's famous for the Jagannath temple and the Jagannath Rath Yatra. So Lord Jagannath leaves the temple. He's placed on these huge, tall chariots, 3 of them, Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra, just like on our altar on the right, but the deities are practically as big as the Vyasasan. They're huge, huge deities. And it takes a whole bunch of men to bring the deities over to the cart and on the cart, and then they go down the Grand Road to the Gunjita temple. And they're taken off the cart, and Lord Jagannath stays in the Gunjita temple. And some days later, it's 8 days later, they come back. It's like a return journey. So somewhere in between, Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, the consort of Narayana, she gets in this mood, like, Jagannath's got to come back. So they have a festival where she's dressed in a garment made of jewels. I mean, made of jewels. In October, we had some meeting in Tirupati, and an arrangement was made for special darshan of Balaji. And the day that we went, the dress, we were told later by the temple president, the dress was worth like $10 million because it was studded with diamonds and rubies. The dress, as one dress. But the goddess of fortune, she comes out dressed like that. And she's placed on a palanquin made of jewels, or studded with jewels. And her servants, they're also dressed up very regal and banging on drums and blowing on trumpets, and a big procession going to the Gunjita temple and demanding that Jagannath comes back. She's not going to be stood up by Jagannath staying over there. He's going to come back. They have sticks and they start, smashing. I hope nobody gets hurt, but hitting the servants of Lord Jagannath. And he must come back. Okay, he'll come back. Promise. After some days, he comes back. So the devotees of Lord Chaitanya are watching. It's called the Hera Panchami Festival. And watching the procession, Narada Muni turns to his friend, Sarup Damodar, these are associates of Lord Chaitanya, and he says, you're a worshipper of Krishna in Vrindavan. But what's the opulence in Vrindavan? They gather some flowers and some twigs and make some garlands and make some offering to Krishna. Look at my goddess of fortune. She rides in a palanquin made of jewels. And Lord Chaitanya says, Srivas, you sound like Narada Muni, because he's Narada Muni. And then Lord Chaitanya turns to Swarup Damodar and says, could you tell Srivas something about the opulence of Vrindavan? And this is a verse taken from that portion of Chaitanya Charitamrita, where it says, there's a long description, but this is one verse, the anklets of the damsels of Brajabhumi are made of jewels, Chintamani stone. The trees are wish-fulfilling trees, and they produce flowers with which the gopis decorate themselves. They are also wish-fulfilling cows. We'll hear some more. The Kamadhenus, that's the Sanskrit up here, Kamadhenus, which deliver unlimited quantities of milk. These cows constitute the wealth of Vrindavan, thus Vrindavan's opulence is blissfully exhibited. So there's a long description of this opulence. Just because of time, I'll say this. In Vrindavan, just about everything can produce just about anything. It starts with Chintamani and the Kalpabriksha. So here's Chintamani. Bhaktisiddhanta writes, just as Maya, that means where we are, builds the mundane universe with 5 material elements, so the spiritual chit bricks gems. The goshals, the places where the cows are kept, the cow barns are made of jewels. Everything is made of this Chintamani. And here's a nice painting of Krishna and Balaram with their cows in the river Jamuna, where they're in the abode, the base metal becomes gold. But the Chintamani is something else altogether. It's a chinta means thought, and money means jewel. So whatever you desire, the Chintamani can supply. Imagine. Even the building materials. It's said, there's a number of verses that we don't have time for, but it said with the gopis, when they have shoes like sandals. So there's the part where you put your foot on, and there's a thong that goes between their toes, the big toe and the next one. And they put a Chintamani gem at the top, just for your shoes. And they have the real big ones, and they use them as doorstops, because they want to be able to see Krishna when he's coming home at the end of the day with the cows. Because what's their desire? Their desire is service to Krishna, that's all. So then the trees, this statement from Bhaktisiddhanta's purport, that the Vedas are compared to a desire trees that fulfills all desires. So piety, wealth, fulfillment of desire, and liberation. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Those of you from India, you know those terms. So that the Vedas supply all that. But the purpose trees in Vrindavan bestow innumerable fruits in the shape of, this is his language, checkered divine love. That means they give love of God. The trees give love of God. Not only they give, here, if there's an apple tree, it can produce one kind of fruit only in season. Apples in season, and otherwise that's it. But the trees in Goloka, they can supply any kind of fruit at any time of the year, and not only fruits, they can supply anything, whatever it is that you want. And there are Surabhi cows. Surabhi are wish-fulfilling cows. And there's lakhs and lakhs, hundreds of thousands and hundreds of thousands of wish-fulfilling cows. And just as the churning of the milk ocean produced one Surabhi cow, all the cows of Goloka are wish-fulfilling cows that does away with the thirst and hunger of all pure devotees, specifically by awakening their transcendental love. Some of you may know, I'm sure some of you know, of Parashuram, Lord Parashuram. His father is pictured here, Janmadagni. Janmadagni was once visited by a king, a kind of puffed up king, named Kartaviryarjuna. And he had a whole big entourage of people with him. And he came to this quiet hermitage of Janmadagni and said, I'm very hungry, and so are my thousands of followers. Can you prepare a meal for us? He's living in the forest. And Janmadagni said, sure, go ahead, take your bath, and everything will be ready. So he approached his Kamadhenu, his wish-fulfilling cow, and there was a huge feast. Not just milk, but a huge feast for everybody. So Kartavirajana got really excited. Wow, I want this cow. So as you see, they tried stealing the cow. And Parashuram didn't like that. So he went and chopped Kartavirajana. But in Goloka, all the cows, not just one, they're the same. They can supply just about everything. The trees can supply just about everything. The land, the building material supplies just about everything. And the cows supply anything. Krishna, of course, he likes milk and butter. So they supply milk and butter. But they can supply anything. And Krishna loves the cows, and the cows love Krishna very much, along with all the other residents in Vrindavan. And then the last part of this verse is Lakshmi Sahasrashata Sambrama Sevyamanam. This is Krishna enjoying pastimes with gopis. In Vaikuntha is a nice illustration of 8 principal forms of Lakshmi found in Vaikuntha. In Dwarka, Krishna has 16,108 Lakshmis, or goddesses of fortune, as queens, and each one of them has a palace. And not only do each have a palace, but Krishna expands himself in each of those palaces into 16,000 different Krishnas. Who can do that? But in the spiritual world, in Goloka, there's unlimited, hundreds and hundreds of such goddesses of fortune or gopis. And this is the abode of Krishna in his original position as Govinda, Adi Purusham, Tamaham Bhajami. And that's the end of our presentation. So, I've gone past my time, but that's not unusual for me. The purpose of the presentation was, well, a few things. To share with all of you something that Prabhupada wanted us to receive, his followers, these wonderful prayers, and the meaning of the prayers, and entering into the meaning or the spirit of the prayers. Then the second purpose is, although this was kind of quick and not as thorough, I'm sure whoever looks after the website and sends out information about things can send you the link so you can go through at your leisure the more elaborate presentation so you can learn the meaning and follow this nice instruction of Prabhupada that he gave in late 60s to learn these prayers. And also, we have copies of this book. So I'm going to sit up here, and if you'd like a copy of the book, I'll give you a copy of the book so that you can go through and with your dictionary by your side, try to understand the meaning of these wonderful glorifications of Krishna, Govinda, given by Lord Brahma. And along with the book, you can see the presentation with these PowerPoints and meditate on Krishna, understand what the spiritual world is like. Why should we want to go there? What's it like there? What do people do there? When you go to that place, what do you do? And what is the form? And what are the pastimes of Krishna? And so forth. It continues a whole bunch. So, where's the book? So I'm going to sit. Anyone who I'm sitting where they're going to have kirtan. So I'll sit over there or something like that. And if you'd like a book, you can come and get one. The BBT, whatever they call it, suggested retail price is $6, and you can give nothing or something or whatever you like, just to give you some idea. And it's one of these cultural things. I learned this in Hyderabad. People like you to sign the book. So if you like, I can sign the book, give you a signed copy. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki, Shri Brahma Samhita ki, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Bol. Yeah, I think we'll sit over.
Jay, can you pick the cards up? Huh? Okay, sure.
You're singing as well?
Oh God.
Haribol.
Yeah. If you want to have lunch, please come upstairs. And then, okay, yeah. It's just good when it goes on simultaneously. That's okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. जय राधा गोविंद राधा गोविंद राधे 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 जया किशोर किशोरी 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 जया किशोर किशोर जया जगन्नाथ जया जगन्नाथ जया जगन्नाथ जया जगन्नाथ जया जगन्नाथ जया जगन्नाथ जया बलदेवा जया सुभद्रा जया गौरानिताय 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद
Who's singing next? Okay.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sweta's supposed to be there? Sweta's supposed to be there? Sweta's supposed to be there? Or Shri Rupa? Right? Okay. Huh? Who's up? Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, that's what. I was like, who's that? Oh.
You get to see for ceremony next. Yeah, when is it going to
Okay. He's waiting until 3. Monday. Do you want to sing something for 10 minutes? 10 minutes? Yeah. Just, yeah.
You can do it. I won't be able to do it.
I'm not so super skilled.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, oh Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Everyone, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. I didn't know what channel you guys were speaking. No, it's just.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna.
Getting into that mood, don't stop it.
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. हरिनाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की जय, शशि किशोर किशोरी की जय. पांचा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा That was like a 7 minute walking out. It's crazy people running around. It might be beautiful. On this purpose. Sorry. Okay, I just got out. It's okay.